4th, 2020. We'll call the meeting to order at 7:30. And we'd like to start the meeting with, no, we're not going to start with the pledge of allegiance. We're going to start with a prayer, a little saying for Furman, who we lost, who was done every position in this township. And he passed on February 7th. So he was I'm sure you all know, you two may not know Furman, but he lives right across the street. He has been a firefighter. He has been on the planning commission. He has told me some tremendous stories. And so just in a little remembrance of Furman, perhaps Gary, you would like to say a few words before we get started.
By the way, his funeral was Saturday, right? Saturday. And the firefighters had a great showing of carrying the casket. Of course, he was a firefighter for 60 years, as most of you know. And he just was a staple. You know, everybody would see him, he'd give a friendly wave or whatever. And but then there were so many funny things about him too, that we talked with his family. And his family's doing good. It's just, Eddie was an assistant fire chief, and Eddie just lives over the railroad tracks and all that. So we want to keep remembering them in prayer during this time. So let's pray. Father, we thank you so much for your love. We thank you for Mr. Roroff and his life to Salem Township and all of his duties and everything that he performed here, being a trustee and just working here and helping out wherever was needed. We now lift up his family to you. We ask that you bless them and comfort them. As you've said in your word, you are the great comforter. We ask that you be very close and dear to his family at this time. May they reach out to you and know the power of your comfort. Father, we thank thee for Salem Township. We thank thee for all these people that are here tonight and helping and planning and prepare. We know that Furman would be here tonight, just always supporting the boards and people that are serving as he has served so many years. Again, we thank thee for your love. We thank thee for your guidance. In your precious name, amen.
Okay. If you'll please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Thank you.
If I may take attendance
Please.
or comment.
Here.
Daryl Lewandowski. TJ McLaughlin.
Here.
Pam Malone.
Present. Here.
Bruce Reed here. Robert Rizzo.
Here.
Dan McGarry.
Here.
Daryl told me he wasn't going to be here. Okay. Okay, so since Daryl is not here, perfect. Okay. Approval of the agenda.
Motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Okay.
February 24th, I guess I should add.
As submitted. Okay, all those in favor of approving the agenda of February 24th, 2020 as submitted, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Public comment. Bonnie.
Yes, the board moved their meeting over a week last month. Are we moving ours, or are we staying on the 16th? And is it going to be a planning commission meeting and a board meeting one night after the other?
I did not have any intentions of moving our meeting, but I haven't discussed it with anyone either.
No,
What would be the reason behind
it's
it?
usually the board meeting, your meeting comes a week after theirs. They moved theirs a week ahead, so I didn't know whether you were gonna move too.
Yeah, I don't see a reason. I think we're gonna stay as scheduled. That's on the website.
The 16th.
Yep. Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Chairperson comment? None? New business items. 7A, USD Sewer and Water Site Plan, Salem file number 20-001. Paul, would you like to give a brief
Sure.
view of what we're looking at?
This is being submitted as a preliminary final site plan for the Salem USD water and sewer system. The township engineers have developed this site plans for utility infrastructure in the urban services district. This is for the water system and the sanitary sewer system. The site plans you see before you include a booster station for the water system and a pump station for the sanitary system. They're located, the sewer system, the pump station is at on Joy Road. Both of these are located within the parcel that is being developed as the Salem Springs residential development. So this is in the southwest corner of the main portion of that site development, and then the the booster station for the water system is at the corner of Napier and Ann Arbor Plymouth Road. These are considered essential services, and the facilities will be owned and operated as public utilities. The system will be owned, operated, and maintained by the township. But due to the requirements of the zoning ordinance, these are being brought to you as a site plan for your approval. So the pump station for this wastewater system includes a small gravel lot and a 375 square foot one-story brick building that's used for the electrical equipment. The majority of the infrastructure there is located underground, so you won't really see anything except for that little brick building. That site is surrounded by proposed to be surrounded by a 6-foot chain link fence. There is no landscaping proposed for this area. My understanding is that obviously there's very little infrastructure that's above the ground to be seen, and it may be problematic because of the pipes that are underground to put landscaping there. There's also a bioretention basin for stormwater, and it's set back from the road 46.2 feet from the future right-of-way. So the future right-of-way is a 60-foot half right-of-way, so it's set well back from the existing right-of-way. The booster station is a little bit more robust in terms of what you see there. There's a paved driveway and 2 underground basins for stormwater. The access point is right off of Ann Arbor Plymouth Road, just to the west of the intersection. There's a 2,624 square foot building. It's 1 story tall. It has a brick facade. It has gabled roofs and actually looks pretty nice. Now that is tucked into the area that is kind of the open space landscaping area of the proposed single-family residential development. The plans show some junipers and hydrangeas along the frontage, and that's consistent with the landscaping that's proposed for the residential development, so that should all kind of look appropriate together. And then there are trees and other things in the landscaping area that's being proposed by the residential development that would surround that, as well as a row of arborvitae's planned for this particular site plan between the building and what would be the future residence there on the site to the northwest. Excuse me, yes, to the northwest. All the lighting fixtures on both facilities are fully shielded and down directed. And then This site is proposed to be surrounded by an 8-foot tall decorative fence, so it would look like a wrought iron fence. The ordinance does have a maximum height of 6 feet, and this has some outward facing spikes on top. It's my understanding that this is being done for security and safety purposes. The Planning Commission does have the ability, if they recognize that need, to waive that 6-foot requirement and allow for this. I think you probably remember that from the consumer site that we dealt with a year or so ago. Ultimately, this required a whole myriad of outside agency permits, which we have copies of. I believe those were in your packet. The one that we were still missing was the Act 399 permit from Eagle for the pump station on Joy Road. Do we have that in hand yet?
We have an email that says that they are about to sign it.
Okay. So ultimately, this is a project that's been prepared by the township engineers on behalf of the township to provide utilities for this area as per our master plan. So we would recommend approval, and deem our township engineer is here. If you have questions for her, if you would like to present anything that I've missed.
Actually, Paul did a great job. I'm Dina Algema with Stantec Consulting. We've been working on this project, secured all the permitting from Washtenaw County, from Wayne County, MD Eagle now. So all permits have been secure for those 2 sites, except, like Paul mentioned, the 399. We have assurance that the permit is coming. They just need to sign it, and it has been taken some time for that signature to come. But other than that, I think Paul did a great job covering everything that needs to be covered. So if you guys have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer.
Page C400 for this?
Of what? Which one?
Booster station,
Wastewater.
Wastewater?
wastewater.
The electrical control building, that's above ground,
Yes.
right? Anything else above ground there?
The electrical control building would be the only thing that is above ground.
I was asking because of just thinking of what vehicles would pull in there, whether that vehicle would be able to turn around, or whether they'd be like backing out onto Joy Road to exit that.
Well, there's the hydrant, which is a little bit, is gonna be above ground, but the building and the hydrant, that's it.
Which is the hydrant?
Uh,
The coordinates on this?
When you look
Oh,
at,
like,
right in front of the building, it says yard hydrant.
I see, a vacuum valve. Flow meter.
On the
Oh,
south,
yeah, yard hydrant.
yeah, on the southeast.
Okay, that's all. What's difference, and don't say 2 feet, difference between an 8-foot fence and a 2-foot fence? What keeps any kid from climbing 2 more feet?
In this case, the additional feet on top are outward facing spikes.
Typically, the security and the impression, because when you are looking at vulnerability of the site, the deterrent that the outward fencing that gives the security impression that it gives, it's basically giving more deterrent. So,
It's 6 foot vertical above the ground, and then at 6 feet, it starts making an outward.
yep, and you can see the
Another 2 feet of
detail. It is
elevation.
shown on page C301 under the booster station.
C301?
Yeah,
Okay, I'm sorry, I'm in the wrong packet. Thank you.
so C301 on the top left-hand side says 8-foot decorative fence detail. You can see how it kind of bends a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Back in 2002, early 2000s, those fences were recommended as part of vulnerability assessments. So we have been recommending them to all municipal and water utilities. And they are basically a recommendation for security deterrence.
If a local area business asks for the same level of security, same fence, would we approve that?
I think if what you're saying is this is kind of a standard and it's water.
So-
I know, I'm playing devil's advocate. you know.
Yeah, I think there's a difference between a water system and a party store.
I think it was DHS.
Yeah, it's a safety item.
Was
I think it's like
recommending
an individual thing. I
That
guess.
sounds right.
Utility.
Yes.
I still have the information.
I guess I would say depending
Part
on
of
what
it
it
is
was.
I have a business that has
Vulnerability
flammables
assessment
or
recommendation.
dangerous chemicals
Yeah.
or whatever, and I think it's a security and health and safety, and I'd like the same fence.
I think if there were standards for if there were flammables and gas and all that kind of stuff, and an engineer would come, I'd probably say yes.
So this is a public utility,
Yeah.
and the vulnerability issues for municipal water is the reasoning behind this. And I don't know if you were here for the discussion that we had, the same kind of discussion with the consumer's gas facility. Looking at those as possibly vulnerable targets as opposed to an individual business that may or may
Vulnerable targets. Explain.
that if somebody was trying to cause harm to the municipality, they could,
Okay, so I'm gonna keep on down this road. So I'm a person that.
Why?
Well, because we've had people that have come here and said, we want this type of fence, and we've,
But this is a public water system.
okay.
And this is what
And so
DHS
this
recommended.
is an
I'm not against the
exception
fence.
to ours.
I'm not against the
Well, I
fence.
just don't want to spend a
So we
whole
have
lot
that.
of time.
That's why we have this,
Give me
that's why
one
it
second,
comes
give me one
before
second,
us.
give
We
me
have that discussion.
One second, please. I understand where you're going with this, but I guess what I'm saying is, how long are we gonna spend on the what-ifs?
Probably 30 more seconds.
Okay.
If someone was
Okay.
motivated, I was motivated to get over that fence, I'd get
You
over the
would,
fence.
absolutely.
Okay,
But
so,
with the standards for a public water system of what she is saying, I think it sounds like we're being
I'm
consistent.
in full approval of it. I just, okay.
Yes.
To further answer the question, I think as an individual, if there was a safety issue, I would also consider that fence around his fire flammable stuff at the appropriate ordinance meetings, et cetera. Why aren't we using that same fence around the pump station though? It looks a little more decorative than a cyclone fence.
We could, well, it is felt that the water systems are, for two reasons. First, this is a more prominent location, and it is at the entrance of the township. That one is more hidden location. It is not very visible, so we did not.
Close to the road though.
We did not feel that it is warranted there. This one does come with a more expensive cross-line item. At the same time, a pump station is not as vulnerable as a booster station. So we're talking water, drinking water versus wastewater. So we did not feel that it is needed. Now, if a community would, if the township would like the same type of fencing, we are more than happy to incorporate the same type of fence over there.
And the question is, besides potential security with that, but more importantly, even though it's not the corner lot of our township, it is a border street, and you said there was no availability to put landscaping around there to screen either the facility or the fence itself, so.
And like I said, the threat over, here you are looking at a
Exit
water
versus entrance,
system.
yes, right.
Over there, you're looking at a wastewater system. So the access to a hydrant is much, to a manhole is much easier than going into a pump station.
Mhm.
So I would rather deter people, deter someone from the booster station rather than from the pump station.
Most importantly, just the aesthetics from the
Exactly.
roadside.
But we are happy if that is the direction that the township is interested in. We are happy to put the same fence with the understanding that it would be a little bit more costly to put that same fence over there.
Could we do, not the full 8 foot with the spikes on top and just do something else that's a similar style of decorative fence that wouldn't maybe be as
We could,
expensive?
yes.
Is that something you'd like to see?
Decorative type
Decorative
fence?
type fence.
Yes, we can.
Like what they put around pools, right? Is that what you're
Just
saying?
something-
Well, just the same thing that they're proposing around the,
So
Booster
decorative
stations,
fence
but-
without the 8 foot, like 6 foot decorative fence, we
At least from the
can.
roadside view.
Sure.
The back is landscape because it's against.
Definitely,
But
yeah,
from the
sure,
roadside view.
no problem.
And
Appreciate it.
Jim,
The pump station isn't as prominent though, isn't it? Isn't it somewhat submerged and
Yes.
not, and more obscure? Oh, I just want to point that out.
Yeah, Paul, couple questions. The first one is, the two buildings that are proposed to be built, that's coming out of the grant fund?
correct.
Okay. So the second question is, how does the township protect itself if Showstack decides not to pay for the sewer line, or doesn't get the financing to pay for the sewer line? We put up these buildings. How do we protect ourselves from not being forced to pay for that line?
So I think that is probably a question that's being dealt with by the township attorney in terms of the agreements with Showstack and moving this project forward. I don't know the nuances on that, but I do know that we are working to ensure that we would not have that liability.
Thank you.
Gary, do you have anything to add?
That's exactly right. That's,
It's an
there's
interesting.
and if you remember, there is a development agreement that they have not come to, and before any, it could be just the water. Right now, that we have 20 million, and in order to spend that, it might be just the water, but before we start any project, the money has to be there before, to put that in the ground, to complete it, knowing that that's there.
No, we just don't have two buildings.
All right. We totally like jumped over your last 30 seconds of fence issue. Did you want to go back to that?
No, okay.
Yes.
I had one more to that end that we talked about. If we end up with just the water for the time being and someone goes back to the drawing board and comes up with a development that works with just the water, for some reason we're under that absolute brick wall, can we at least get a perk for the restroom that you figured in there on that site? I mean, is that soil, does anybody know if that soil will perk in that one corner? You can actually, we've got a restroom figured for the water pump station. In that facility, there's a restroom scheduled there. We need some sort of means of, I'm sure there's other ways to deal with it, but pump it out or put it in a tank and pump it out, I guess, I suppose.
So you're talking about the potential for
If
a
we're-
septic field for the booster station?
Right.
I mean, I think we're moving forward with the assumption that the.
I understand, but there's a way to, I'm just a simple question, there's a way to deal with it if that doesn't get approved for some reason and we end up, some developer comes back and says, well, you got the water, but we can do this without sewer. There's a whole different development plan. Should that not be approved? Because we're trying to get it through Superior Township, who's at this point has not accepted or agreed to
Well,
passing through.
the booster station right now is being designed to accommodate basically the entire USD, servicing the USD with water. And that assumes that it will end up, that restroom, that service lead will be connected to a sewer system that services that would be a collection system at Salem Springs. So that however Salem Springs gets served will be however that booster station is going to be served. So we won't only have the issue of serving the restroom within the booster station, it will be serving the USD as a whole on the sewer side. So regardless, there will need to be a way to have a sewer service for the USD as a whole, not only that booster station. Does that answer your question?
In other words, Bruce, this water station is not going online without a development.
Without a development.
In the USD, and the USD is not having a development unless the developers figure out how to bring in.
Sewer.
A sewer,
Okay.
a sewer and water, so. And those two buildings, one of them will need to connect to GLWA and have a water connection, and will need to connect and serve a development. So someone needs to develop to have an actual viable service. So everything will need to kind of fall into place, and it will not fall into place without development agreements, working out, and on the other side that's where the attorneys are working to kind of make sure that there is a developer and there is a development agreement and someone is building on the other, within the USD as a whole.
It's our responsibility tonight is to approve the drawings and the look and all that, not to
Yes,
not deep into the deed there.
yes, that's definitely being worked on.
And it is kind of the cart in front of the horse.
Yeah.
You need to have the system to serve the development, and the development needs to come and they need to find a regional system to serve them. So we need to have both systems working together and coming kind of simultaneously at the same time.
And ultimately, for our part as the township, we have motivation to have our plans in place for these pieces so that if and when, presumably when, the developers are able to do their part, we're not holding up the show.
Sure, exactly.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
can I have permission to say something?
Yes.
I don't want to speak out of line, so.
You don't
But I
do
think, Bruce, maybe what you're asking, and I think it's a good point, is that let's just say there is no way of getting sewer to the Superior. And there's no other options around there. The only option really is, I think that's what you're saying, is a wastewater treatment plant, which would be very expensive. I don't think our township wants that, but that's a possibility to have something there. And then the other is, which, they're allowed to put, septic, so then the problem would be the 2-acre minimum or whatever that zoning calls for up there, which, that would be another issue they have to go through. I'm just saying, but then there would always be, if you spend the money on this water, then there's always gonna be, some public water in the area, and you might not get sewer. I mean, I'm sure some way it's gonna go to Superior. I'm just saying, you've gotta look at, well, hey, who would be the worst example of that they can't, then what's the alternative? So that are all the avenues that we've been looking at. I think that's the question you're
Yeah,
asking.
no, either way, I understand the need to push forward here, particularly as it relates to the funds that are available and not to slow down the development. And that we have thought through the alternatives that may or may not happen, should the worst case scenario come up.
Thank you.
Dan?
If we had a waste treatment facility, that would be setting a pretty bad precedent for the rest of the township. Just want to make a point of that. They can do it there, then they can do it anywhere. Okay, that's the only thing holding back the builders in the township, is to be able to take care of the water and sewer. So if the township acquiesces to a waste treatment plant, then that's a ramification for the whole township.
Yes.
I don't know anything about these buildings, and I'm just curious, the pump station, because it's a lot bigger. What goes on inside there? I mean, I see like pipes, but then there's some rooms and a bathroom, and it's like if someone has to be there all the time, or.
So you're talking about the booster station?
Yeah, I was just, wondering like what's. I'm on
So-
E102.
So we're talking about the booster station.
Yeah, like,
So we have 3 pumps, and then we have a room with a generator. That generator is the backup generator in case we lose electricity. That room needs to be isolated, and it needs to host the generator. And
Okay.
that generator is your backup power in case we lose the electricity. Then you have a room that hosts the VFDs, which are the frequency, the frequency drives. Those are basically electrical cabinets that control the pumps.
okay,
And then you would have a room with we call it the mechanical room. and a restroom. So
Okay.
they're just, basically compartments for operation, for efficient operation of the booster station. You will not see people coming or being present in this building very often.
Okay.
There will be periodic visits to maintain the booster station. I would say depending, maybe monthly, maybe every week. But you would find an operator coming on weekly basis. Sometimes they might need to be there on daily basis if there was a need. There will typically be a SCADA system and telemetry that will send information back and forth. So there will be a little bit of need to be there all the time unless there is an emergency or there is a need to repair. So it's not something that, there won't be people working from this building.
Okay. Like when I saw the bathroom, I thought, well, does this mean that like people are gonna be here a long time? Or
If
there's
somebody-
meeting rooms, I mean, I didn't know what it was.
For hours. Because with TJ's point, you've got maintenance that comes in regularly for the generators. You've got the guys checking on the variable frequency drives for the motors, to check the
Yes.
settings, so people can be there for a long time when these things cycle. So the restroom and
Well, yeah, the restroom will be needed.
Yeah, I just didn't understand.
And also when we are working on this and making sure that it is even operational during commissioning, there will be a lot of, hustle and bustle within that building. So,
Okay.
I think overall the building, particularly the corner building, looks like it's well designed for aesthetics and looks like it should be a good visual. I'm not opposed to the fence, especially being decorative.
Is interested in requesting a similar type fence for the,
It's pretty far back. How far back's that wastewater?
Behind the fence.
The wastewater thing.
The fence itself would be set back roughly 30 feet or so from the future right-of-way, which is another
60 foot from the roadside.
actually, it's pretty close. The fence is pretty close to the, is this the fence around here? The fence is actually pretty close to the future right-of-way line, so assuming that road ever gets expanded, the decorative fence might be appropriate in that area.
On the front side.
I'm sorry.
Just on, at least on the front side.
No,
I mean, probably it's not a very big plot,
but like I said, if the road does get
yeah,
expanded,
it's close to the road.
the edge of the
Very
road will be
close to
closer.
it.
So
So I'll just go.
if you're inclined to go that direction, I would just suggest you put the same fence all the way.
Same
just
fence.
put the same fence around.
Yeah, same fence.
We have a lot of conversations about fence
That's our-
Yeah.
Smart.
So now,
Details.
that's our primary responsibility.
Yeah, that's right. I think that was my only question.
No, the forbidding them to get
No,
there.
that's
We're
what
not
I'm
with the
saying.
city.
you're saying a 6-foot chain link around this septic, the sewage, and then 8-foot security around the water.
I think what's being suggested is that there'd be a 6-foot decorative fence around the pump station as well.
6
It's 8 foot, isn't it?
No, this is the one, at the water is the 8, the sewer is the 6.
Okay, so we go with the 6 for the sewer.
No threat of security around the sewer. Is the reasoning for the 8 foot around the water.
No, if somebody wants to get in,
Let
whatever
them
they want
go.
to get in,
Knock
they
yourself
will
out.
go in.
Yeah.
So, but we're sticking to the standards.
So decorative fence around the pump station.
Yes, please.
Sure.
Okay, now, so where are our potential, these are the- okay. Okay.
Why is one driveway 20 foot wide and the other one 15?
I believe the intention is that there's limited access at the other, whereas the.
Because it just can be smaller?
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. Does this show where the, like the manholes accessing the water system will be? Or just, these are the ones that are within the areas themselves, within the fenced areas?
I didn't, what do you mean?
Yeah, there's a, on C301, there's a detail of what the well cover looks like.
So these are the actual vaults for that are on the water main. And we did not put the water main plans here. So this is part of the bigger plan set. So there are water mains along Napier, water mains around Godfredson and Joy Road.
These type of manholes to valves.
Yeah, that's what you would see.
If you notice on the cover sheet.
You know where I'm gonna go with this, right?
Not really.
Okay. Yeah. You see security issues of getting into a pump house and getting into the water, but yet I can pull a manhole and get into that same water system.
Well, these are bolted covers, and you would need to have your own key to open them.
Okay. Okay. All right.
Basically, you have the
It's
deter,
okay.
deter, detect, defend, right? Detect, deter, defend, right? So you try to deter in any way. You defend as your last, as your last kind of part of the vulnerability assessment. But you have to deter. You put a sign on the fence or on the door as a deterrence. So you are doing what you can to deter someone from accessing your structures or your vulnerable
I understand
supplies.
that. I agree.
And you do what you can. That's it.
Okay.
Okay. I guess just one last little minor detail is on one of the Washtenaw County Road Commissions, there was a list of administrative items, most of them have to do with money and stuff, but you guys take care of all that, right?
Well, and there are some permits that
Like additional plan sets on there, and, okay.
there are some permits that we basically we don't even put. We just have a letter that says we get here's an approval letter, and then the contractor will be pulling those permits. So we just have approval letters in the packets that the actual permit will come later.
All right. Is everybody good? Okay, so I guess we can make a motion to either postpone or approve. If we're gonna approve, we want to include contingent upon receiving a permit, it's written on here, and to include a decorative fence around the wastewater pump station to match the water booster station. So, does somebody wanna make a motion? Sorry, it's crazy written.
I make a motion to approve the combined preliminary final site plan for the USD sewer and water site plan file number 20-001 with the condition that the applicant put a decorative fence around the, a 6-foot decorative fence around the wastewater pump station and a 8-foot fence around the booster station with the last 2 feet being the curb spikes.
That's already part of the plan.
Is that part of it? Okay, yeah, it is identified. Okay, well, the only deviation is the decorative fence around the wastewater pump station. And they need to receive the Act 399 permit from EGLE for the pump station on Joy Road. Okay, and you got that? It's,
Yeah.
basically, we're approving it, doing the approval part, and then that they receive Act 399 permit from EGLE for the pump station, and to provide a 6-foot decorative fence around the wastewater pump station to match the water boost station.
I'm seconding it if you're good.
Okay. All those in favor of approving the combined preliminary
Final site plan for the USD water and sewer site plan, file number 20-001, with the condition that the applicant receive the Act 399 permit from EGLE for the pump station on Joy Road, and include a decorative fence around the wastewater pump station to match the 8-foot fence around the water booster station. All those, we'll do a roll call vote.
Bart Conn.
Yes.
TJ McLaughlin.
Yes.
Pam.
Yes.
Bruce Reed, yes. Robert Rizzo.
Yes.
And Dan McGarry.
Yes.
Okay. Old business, none. Report of commissioners and correspondence. Board of trustees.
We appointed you and Dan.
Oh,
Another 3 years.
congratulations. And it sounds like your meeting was moved, correct?
Yes.
To be the Tuesday after our next meeting, okay. And ZBA, that's usually Daryl, he's on vacation. He's what?
There's been no meeting.
No meeting, okay. Land preservation and conservation,
In our last meeting, we talked about some of our goals, plus also, we had a little bit of conversation about making sure that our entranceways to the community are looking good and keeping up that rural look. And of course, there's some pressure on the 8-mile Pontiac Trail gateway that could get some pressure to develop other than as zone, which is for residential, because it is commercial across the street. And to that end, I think we want to make sure that we follow as many of our ordinances as possible to make sure that we keep things the way we want it, and make sure that we've got, when we talk about some of our ordinances getting updated to match the master plan, and I don't know that that's a direct correlation, but we want to make sure that as much as possible, we make provisions for if this, then, if not this, then what, and what would be acceptable, so that we can hold up that rural character, particularly at all of our entranceways to the township, main entranceways to the township, such as that corner of Joy Road and our Plymouth Road, and of course, as well as 8 Mile Pontiac Trail, et cetera, those other places that we have. So again, just kind of follow through on our ordinances and again, some of the things that we've talked about in the past, special, Dan, you brought up the potential of, call them packaged sewer systems or combined sewer systems and things like that, or waste treatments on site. So we want to make sure our ordinances are updated as much as possible and finish up on some of the things that we started last year.
Planning consultant review. Mr. Rockwell, do you have anything to contribute? We're at the tail end.
Sorry, I can wait.
Approval of the minutes for January 27th, 2020.
Motion to approve the minutes of January 27, 2020.
Okay, I'll second it.
Thank you. All those in favor of approving the minutes of January 27th, 2020 as submitted, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? Public comment. Ms. Bonnie.
Does anybody out there know anything of what the gentleman was talking about in the board meeting of a roundabout at Pontiac Trail and North Territorial? And also, do you know anything about how far along, or did they scrap the roundabout at 7 Mile and Pontiac Trail?
I hear that's going. Gary, you probably have more info on that.
Yeah, they were cutting trees today, so
Uh-huh.
it's moving right along.
And
There's
then,
been
so,
no official word on the North Territorial and Pontiac Trail one, but they are doing surveying. So what they do is they do the surveying, get to their engineers, and then they start letting the public know. And it's, once they get, usually it's some kind of grant money for that kind of, maybe it's going to be bigger. I think it's coming, it really, I mean, if they put this one in 7 Mile Pontiac Trail, and they don't do something with Territorial and also Dixboro going through it in the morning, we're going to have real problems.
aren't they going to do Curry and 8 Mile too?
Yeah, that's Oakland County.
Oh, okay.
So it'll be interesting. I think we know
Anything to
what's
contribute
gonna
now?
happen,
Well,
but 7 Mile for sure.
my question, reason for asking that question is the one at 7 Mile Road is going to pretty cripple the little store there because you can only go in one direction and then you have to, if you live on the east side of that, on 7 Mile Road on the east side of that store, you have to go all the way to the store and then you have to go all the way out on Pontiac Trail and find a place to turn around and come all the way back to get to your house. Because they built in, the pictures that he gave us showed berms and uncrossable centerpieces that you can't cross.
Wouldn't you just go back around the roundabout and come back
So you
up?
can't get out at the roundabout there, you can't get right at there, you have to get out down further. There's curbs gonna be there at the roundabout. And if you could get out there at the roundabout, you could not go across a lane to come back because they're going to put medium strips in there, something that's like big curbs, so you can't get across it. And on our picture that we all got, the day that had the meeting, it was red, but it's going to be centered so you can't get across it. And then, it's going to be 1 lane wide, the whole roundabout instead of 2 or whatever. He said 1 lane, and it's gonna be so trucks can cross over the medium and make corners, but it's gonna be 1 lane wide. And if you get a whole burst of people coming through that that roundabout at 5 o'clock at night, anybody coming north and east and west on 7 Mile Road will not be able to get in there unless you get a real kind-hearted soul that stops and lets you in. But they don't have to do that because there's no break.
Then it will be just like the one on 10 Mile.
And no, the one on 10 Mile actually has 2 or 3 lanes and stoplights. But the one.
Well, I'm sure that's the road commission and the little store, they'll have to work that out, I guess.
I asked the day they had the meeting and they said, we don't, as much as we don't care, we're gonna put it in there anyhow.
Was the little store guy there?
No, but there was two other people sitting back here with me that were asking the same questions.
Right.
And they said, we asked them if it was a done deal, and they said, yes, it's a done deal, and we're going to do it.
Huh.
They never said we didn't care, but they said, we're going to do it.
Yeah. Sounds par for the course.
Okay, I'm done.
Okay. That's okay.
Has
Interesting
anybody-
stuff. No, go
Is it
ahead.
okay if I, has
Yes.
anybody seen something that says what they're doing will solve the problem? A change is a change, great, but does the change solve the problem?
According to them, it did.
Because, Bonnie, I gotta tell you, I've thought of the exact same thing. I heard about it and I looked and said, okay, anybody going north in the evening and all that traffic coming up 7 Mile, no one from 7 Mile going westbound is gonna be able to turn north. It's gonna be a constant flow. Good for you that you're on that. But then everybody's gonna avoid that and come across 6 Mile so they have a chance of getting on possibly. It's gonna push traffic elsewhere because they're not gonna be able to turn north from 7 on to Pontiac.
Not only that, there will be nothing to stop traffic all the way from Ann Arbor. There'll be roundabouts, but if there's nobody watching, people won't go slow around the roundabout, so it'll be a raceway all the way from
Well,
downtown Ann Arbor all the way to 8 Mile Road.
Lateral coefficient friction. Solve that. Why don't you solve that? Okay. Yeah, I'd be very interested in seeing the paper that says this solves the problem. This is what our algebraic formula says beforehand. We make this change. This is what it says afterward. I'd love to see it. Maybe I'll go ask. Because I don't believe it. I'll state it here.
Speak slowly into the microphone.
Yeah, no, it's fine. I'm just,
You know, in Washington DC, they have the roundabouts for years, but they're big roundabouts. They're not these little dinky things that you have to,
I'd say give Washington DC the single lane ones.
yeah, right. But theirs are effective. These are too small.
Okay.
I don't think around.
Should be
Guess we'll
excellent.
find out. Okay. Chairperson comment? None?
Okay.
Adjournment? What is that? 8:22.
What is She said GOAW.
My daughter goes there. It's a big intersection. Lights.
There is
I love
Yeah. Like here one, yeah.
Have you seen an increase in traffic on your street, Bonnie?
Have I seen?